Dr. Arlyne Simon, the author of Abby Invents, and I am here at Pioneer Prep in the art room to have a conversation with Miss Esther Robinson. Miss Robinson taught me in grade 7 at Convent Prep in 1997. And today we're going to be talking about the impactful role that she had on my career journey. And I have been dreaming about this day for a really long time, to just thank her in person for having such a big impact on my life and who I am today. So Miss Robinson, thank you for sitting with me and just chatting. Thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure. You just made my day when I saw you this morning. I love meeting my past students and just seeing how they have blossomed.
Thank you.
So you brought me a lot of joy. So I'm glad that you're doing this.
I'm so happy. And I'm very certain if I were to survey all the students from that class of 97, that many of them would say that you were their favorite teacher too. I know, because I talked to a lot of them.
Okay, then probably we need to speak more deeply. I
Yes.
need to get to know certain things. Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about your role today. What's your role today?
Okay, so I'm no longer a teacher in the classroom. I'm principal of Pioneer Preparatory School. So a little change, well, maybe more than that, a big change. In my past role as teacher, I got to make decisions for my class, and now I get to make decisions for the school. So pretty much that's what it is.
Well, I am fairly certain, given the impact that you had on me and the other students in my grade, that if now you're taking care of students in a school, that the students are gonna blossom even more beautifully too.
I try my best.
So when I think back to my time in grade 7, I remember how fun it was because we had songs for long division, we had songs for I before E, E before I. You were so intentional in how you composed songs for us, or even made us compose songs. So just tell me about your teaching philosophy and how that started.
Oh boy, there's so many facets to teaching philosophy. So probably start with the teacher. For me personally, one of the things that I believe is that a teacher needs to enjoy the class. You have to enjoy work.
Yes.
And you have to enjoy your class. So you have to create a lesson that is enjoyable. I think if the teacher enjoys the class, the children will enjoy it because the enthusiasm will come through. So that is one thing. The other thing I always kept in mind is that I want my students to learn. I want to do my best so that my students can be who they ought to be. I remember many years ago, someone said, you have to think of yourself in your old age. Who is going to be your company? What is going to be your society? As a teacher, we have an opportunity to help shape society. So with that in mind, what do I bring out of my students? I love fun, so they will have fun. I want them to learn, so there was the drive to get them to learn. Not just in approaching the classroom or having objectives or so, also in the discipline that I kept. So I think part of this philosophy is that you want to have a certain climate in your class and have discipline. Whether you enforce that discipline by having rewards, whether there are consequences, a combination of both. So part of that philosophy is just having that discipline and reaching every student. I also think that you cannot plan for people if you don't get to know them. So I made time to stay with the class, the children. So if I had snack with the teachers, I would certainly have lunch at my desk in the classroom.
I remember that, yeah.
And I would often have both snack and lunch at my desk because that would give my students an opportunity to get to know me. So that too is part of that philosophy. I cannot plan for you if I don't know you. And if I meet you in a more casual situation, I will discover you more, okay? So this is yet another thing. Another thing I think that teachers can do, yes, you might work at a school that has prescribed texts and so on, but you never stop searching. What were the books you enjoyed when you were smaller? Probably they needed pictures.
Yeah.
And so if the textbook is not colorful enough, is there another one that you can introduce the children to? So that too is part of it. It's a complete package with the objective of getting the child to know who they are, to discover who they are, and to achieve their best.
Seamus, I don't remember you sort of telling us that we could be scientists or engineers. I don't think you ever spoke in that language.
No.
But it's so interesting because when I look back at our class, so many of us became scientists and engineers and inventors and accountants. There are people who are writers and poets. And I mean, you have to be proud of just you must have had an impact on us all to make us all grow into such wonderful careers. So how do you feel just when you look, because I mean, my class is just one class and you've been a teacher for decades at this point. So when you think of all the lives that you've touched and all the work that we've done collectively, it started because we had a teacher like you who told us that we could.
I
So
said
how
to
do
God
you
be the
feel?
glory for that. I'm grateful. I'm just grateful. One of the things I can tell you, Arlyne, I love my students. I love them and I love them. And that is a major part of teaching. When once I had taught a child, I would never forget that child's name. I remember something specific about every single child that I have taught. Whether it's the shape of the eye, the way they smiled, the little jokes they made, the funny things they said, I remember. And so when I see they have come into their own and they have achieved, I feel a sense of pride. I don't need to say anything. I'm not their parent, but I feel almost like a parent. In the same way, if I feel more could have come out of this life, I feel sad. When I see them, I feel sad. Yeah, but this is few and far between. Mostly, I have seen the young people that have come through and spent at least a year with me just really blossom and develop and really make people proud. Not just me, their families themselves really just be proud. So I feel very proud and all glory to God because He placed a certain talent in me.
He did.
He certainly did. Because I started off as an untrained teacher. And even then, students said they enjoyed class. He's the one who put singing and music into me. He's the one that created that restlessness that I just couldn't sit and teach. It wasn't enough. I needed to go to the gardens and to play spelling. You know, I still play. I still laugh at nonsense. I enjoy little jokes, you know. And I think that's all part of being the teacher, being you with the children, allowing their little slip-ups once in a while. Not all the time though, no, but allowing it once in a while and letting them relax with you. And so in the end, I just feel really proud. I feel that, okay, another blessing, another gift to another gift to society, pretty much.
So when, I know sometimes for the songs, you said that, you know, sometimes you would let the students create their own song and the class would vote on the best song that we would learn. Can you sort of describe how you did that?
Okay, I know the strength of group learning. And when all these intelligences come together, and I don't start off the term saying, okay, I want this group together and I want you to compose. I first spend a little time getting to know the class. I get to know those who enjoy singing. Simple. We used to start with prayer. In prayer, there was usually a song. And you can see those who are more touched or more into it than others. So I know these are my song leaders. And eventually, it's one way to learn. People complain that children cannot learn, but they sing everything they hear on the radio. So they can learn, but they just learn with rhythm. They learn with musical notes. So if we can put it in rhythm, we can put it in musical notes, we will help them to learn. And so from that, I would teach a rule, explain it, we give examples, but the evaluation or the final activity would be, let's see if we can compose a tune for this. to help us remember. Now, in the end, if I got a good tune, wonderful. I'll use it, for sure. But if not, it was okay because the amount of effort that the group would have to put in, just reviewing the rule, they were already learning it, and that was the objective, for them to learn it. So they had something to fall back on when faced with having to find solution of any kind.
Right.
So that's pretty much how it worked.
So let's talk about the rule that I remember.
Okay.
The one that we learned in English class.
Okay.
So we were learning how to spell words with I and the E follows, or the E and then the I. And that's a tricky thing to learn in English.
Right.
But because of you, it was so easy because we had a song.
Yes.
So kind of walk through like that rule and then how we came up with the song. I know we may remember different versions of the song because you've taught that you've made different groups of students compose their own song.
Right.
But I can sing. I can't sing as well as I used to in your choir because I have lacked your training all these years.
No, you just have to practice. That's what it is.
No pressure for me here.
Yes.
But yeah, so maybe kind of share how you would phrase this rule of I, E, or EI, and then we'll kind of talk through the song I remember. Yeah.
Okay, there's a simple rule, and because the I sound can give you the same sound, the combination can give you the same sound, it's important that the children understand it. So first we take C, and we say, okay, C is followed by E, and then I. So in words like ceiling, receive, deceit, and so on. And so you give examples with that. Then you will have others like in shield. And it's SH, so the I comes first and then ELD. So how are we going to get the kids to understand that? But in a rule. And then sometimes we have the EI not giving that E sound, but actually giving the A sound, like in neighbor or way. Yet another extension. And don't forget too, there are other exceptions to the rule where, for example, in the word diet, it's not deet, it's separated. In science, it's not seeds, it's science. And so we have the best way is to sing it. The best way is, just to sing it. So it's I before E, except after C, but if sounded as A or I, then E before I. And so over the years, I've had different groups of children make up their songs. And sometimes you just have the class, okay, class, which one we're going to vote on to sing as a class? And the children will make their decision. Sometimes you get a split vote where, but miss, this one is nice and this one is also, okay, so let's learn the two. We're having fun. We're playing, which is just the most natural avenue for a child to learn. And then we're using rhythm, which comes so naturally culturally. And so there must be memory formed afterwards. And then after that, it's just application.
The memory is still there, and it's been like 20 years. Okay, let me see. So I think I remember with my class, the version was, if you want to use the letters I and E, E or I, and you want to know which is first, which is last, oh my, something, something, I before E, except after C. And do you remember the rest?
I don't remember this one.
But there's one.
So that's why I think it might have been a group thing.
Maybe.
I really don't remember this
Well,
one.
what's
So
the
it would have
version
been a
you
presentation. One that is a lot more recent. Something like I before E. Actually, that was composed by a group right here in the school, a 6th grade. Is it? I before E, except after C. If sounded as A or I, then E before I.
So that's a beautiful version.
Yes.
I think for my version, I remember it had something like a drum form, and we had to dip. It was like, put the E before I. I don't know. I just remember that part in the ending. But it was
just saying that probably.
Because.
Probably. I don't know. I guess it's just more recent.
Yes,
I don't know why.
yeah.
And then we used to sing so many songs.
Yeah, we did.
But this other song, I remember the group leader of that other song being Keisha Charles. I guess she would remember all the members of her group. Their grade 6 was a small group, very cooperative, something like your grade 6, where everybody had their own personality, but they still cooperated with the teacher.
Yeah.
That 6th grade was like that. So it kind of stands out in my mind. Again, because I don't teach as many subjects as I used to when I was with you. Those songs that I kept, I remember. But those that probably change brought along or change, yeah. So this is one that I don't remember too well, yes.
What about the one that you mentioned for subject-verb agreement?
Oh.
Do you want to sing that one?
I wouldn't be able to go through everything.
Okay.
I remember having to teach it and saying, but, okay, how am I going to teach this for the children to get it quickly? I don't like to spend a long time on anything. So the quicker I can get it, the better. Maybe it's not a good thing, maybe it's a good thing, I don't know. It just depends.
Well, it allows us to remember forever, so it works.
So it was just within a snack period, I got up on the board and I said, I want to try something. Let me see if the children can sort of rap. I'm not claiming to be able to rap, but somehow you enjoyed it anyway, right? So I think it is, when you have a sentence, it must agree. For the subject, that's easy. How will you find out what's the word? That depends on what's the verb. If it's singular, add an S, but if it's plural, there's no S. Yes, yes, I think it was something like that.
Well, yeah, everything you taught was so catchy. We have to do the long division dance, though.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
We have to exercise our little muscles.
But this one I cannot take credit for. Okay. No. I was tutoring a child and she went to another school, the St. Martin Primary, and she had this song and she said, "Boy, and hello." I don't think it's disrespectful because in certain forums I need children to be open with me, and in that it was a choir setting, so they called me by my first name, and she told me, "But Esther, there's this song and it's so cool," and I listened and I said, "Why not?" And so when I brought it to you all, so it's not my creation, it came from another teacher, and you all fell for it. And long division became easy.
That was so easy.
Yes.
Because we had to get up from our desk, get up from our chair, and then you made us stand in the aisle next to our desk. And then we just did it. And then all of a sudden, long division was a piece of cake.
Yes.
And I remember even for common entrance exam, because we had the long division song, when there were long division pieces on this common entrance exam, I was just singing in my head, okay, long division goes like this, okay, divide, multiply, subtract, bring. I couldn't, get up because it's an exam. But in my head, I was like, okay, bring down.
That was, long division goes like this, and we'd make the shape of the division sign, divide, multiply, subtract, and you go down, bring down. And even I'm not even sure she did the movements, or whether it was just within the class. I don't even recall that.
I don't know.
But I just know it worked. So whoever that teacher was, thank you very much, because it was a tool I used.
Yes.
And it worked. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So I guess, Miss, what advice would you give to other teachers who maybe they're just starting in their careers or they're already seasoned educators, but, what advice would you give them about teaching, just how you did it? Yeah.
The first thing I would say is when you find yourself in any position, recognize it is a gift.
Yeah.
And just as you wouldn't tell someone, I don't want what you bought me, that's rude.
Yeah.
You accept it. And whatever it is, you decide how you work with it. So see that role as a gift. The second is, I would say, love your students. Love them enough to want the best for them. Then go on, get to know them. Enjoy your classes. If you plan a class that you enjoy, most likely there will be people who will enjoy it in the classroom. Okay? And keep the creativity going. What may work for one group may not necessarily work for another group. So you may find that you have to reinvent. Use the natural ways of learning through music, through play, through conversation. Those are natural ways to learn. So use natural ways to learn. And above all, give children opportunities to discover themselves. So in group learning, they can discover who is a good note taker, who is a good leader, who is a good composer, depending on the task that you give. Even right now, at school, we have a program where children can choose once a term a subject they would like to learn. We do not grade that subject. It is purely for self-discovery. So they get a sense, and it's usually within an art form. And simple things, maybe a thread art like crochet or antimacassar or something like that, or cooking of some kind, or another language that's not offered in the curriculum, the formal curriculum. And it's all for self-discovery. So children can say, okay, I sort of have an aptitude for that, yes. And so I got a little touch, and I will continue in high school if it's made. Or they may not even be aware of it, but 5 years from now, when placed with another opportunity to learn, they say, oh yes, I remember when we did it and it came to me so easily. So give them avenues to explore themselves, to explore their mind, to discover their talents. I mean, there's so many things you can tell a teacher. Oh, above all, keep your cool. Keep your cool. Learn to laugh at yourself. When I first started, I wasn't so good at keeping my cool. It's something I have to grow into. So maybe I'll close with that. Expect your own growth. Expect your own growth. You won't get everything correct right at the start. So don't be afraid to say, I'm sorry. And try again. Yeah.
Because I do remember you being always cool, but you gave us a look and we knew that
oh yes,
we
the
were
look.
we were
the look.
I hope they're capturing the
eyes
look on camera. So I remember actually we had to write compositions, and I think that was in your class, where there was one composition I remember you had to pretend that you were a shoe.
Yes.
And then, see, I don't know why, I still remember these things. And then we had to write as if we were the shoe, and all the adventures we had as a shoe. That, and then another time we had to pretend we were a 25-cent coin, and all of the adventures. And I just remember those being my favorite compositions. And maybe that's when I started exploring the idea of becoming a writer, because it's not like I ever had a dream of becoming a writer. I wanted to be a teacher like you, like my mom, because you were cool. And I think all of these helped, and even you were also a choir conductor.
Yes.
And you helped me develop confidence, because I was always kind of shy, I think, a little bit. And then you sort of identified, certain, I guess, voices. Like you're able to say that you were alto, you're a soprano. I don't remember which one I was, but there was a song all of my life. And then when you had us learning that song, maybe I said a note, I don't remember. But all I remember is like you calling me to the front and then giving me like my first solo opportunity that I had to sing in a big church.
Yes.
But after that experience, it's like, now I was confident, and you don't know this, but then in my local church in Lodad, then all of a sudden I sang, not all of my life, but I remember there was a Mother's Day soon after that, and then I sang a song for the mothers in the church by myself, but I would have never done that if you hadn't, made me sing a little solo piece. So
self-discovery.
Yeah.
But you also had you possess that quality of wanting to try. So yes, a little bit shy, but wanting to try and wanting to please. And you gave your work enough attention for the success. So so I love singing.
Yeah.
That's probably the number one thing.
Yes.
Yeah. So anytime somebody sings, I listen. I can be walking on the road and somebody's singing. And I just wish I could tell that person, can you come to join us? Seriously. I remember once I was walking behind a very grown-up man, and he was just humming to himself. And he quickened his step, I quickened mine. He went slowly, I went slowly too, because I was listening to him singing. Lovely voice. I'm drawn to voices. Maybe that's one of the best instruments. I myself am not a solo singer.
Really?
No, I sing well with a choir. But it's just the beauty of voice. And so I'm glad I was able to do that for you, and I hope for others too.
I'm
Sort of draw them out, yeah. And also to just enjoy, when after the hurricane there's no radio, that you sing, you enjoy yourself, You're alone at home and you have company because you have your voice.
That's true.
Yeah.
I'll have to remember that.
Yes, yeah, you sing and you enjoy yourself. It's such a gift. I'm glad I could do that for students. I mean, you cannot tell, I'm doing this for this impact. That's just not how it is. Or I'm going to be a mentor. No, you are, and then you find out you had a mentee. So it's always good when you are to be.
Yeah.
Be your best. You don't know who's looking, who's watching, who's following, who's admiring, who's learning, who's developing. I love teaching.
It is very clear.
Love teaching.
I'm happy you
Yes.
stumbled into that career
Yeah.
because you are a blessing.
It's a stumble, It was a stumble. Yeah.
Is there a story there?
There's a little story behind that, yeah. I kind of knew that I could explain things from very early. And about the age of 11, I probably didn't look like 11. Had a little size. So I didn't look like 11, I guess. And they said, okay, we're going to make you a leader at Sunday school. I said, all right. It was only afterwards I realized I was teaching people my age. Didn't know. A few years after, about 14, I got the opportunity to follow leadership training courses with the youth division. That made a change in my life. So even this is an opportunity to say thank you to Miss Alfred and her team at the time, because it was good. And following that, I think while I was at Sifopol, because that's what it was called then, not Clifton Dupini, but it's Clifton Dupini came in, yes. And I did 1 year, I did a second, I wasn't satisfied. I wanted to go back and do something secretarial just to have a range of skills. But it was time for me to go to work. And I remember just leaving church one morning and I looked across and I saw someone whom I knew could help me. And I went to the person and I said, I need a job. Do you have a job? No, I did not know at that time that person would follow her students and know what they're doing. I discovered that over time. And that was how I started teaching. So it wasn't anything I could have told her in an interview, she already knew because she followed her students. And I ended up working with this person for a number of years. Early in my career, I got to go to Teachers College. And we did a certificate after which you consider that you're qualified. That was not without challenge, but it happened, and everything happens for good in the end, right?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, because you learn from everything that happens.
Absolutely.
So we won't go into that now. just throwing it in there in case anybody meets a stumbling block, that they don't let it cripple them.
No.
Because it might just be something telling you got to change something, or you need to wait for a while. Yeah, something like that. And so from there I continued. I went overseas. I studied at SUNY Plattsburgh. I got my bachelor's degree there, and then I came back here and continued hopefully teaching, but then I got the opportunity to be the deputy principal here and to move on as principal. If there's one thing I've learned though, is how dynamic life is, and how even after years of experience, people, yes, you can feel seasoned, but not to think you have it all.
Right, yeah.
Because, wow, right there came COVID, and the strategies and methods and everything. Like this, just like that. And yes, you're still, your whole person, your whole charisma can still carry through, but it's different. And so even at this stage in my life, new methods, new strategies. So I guess in the end, always learning, and lifelong learning, there's much to be said for it, I must say. Yeah. So I stumbled into it. I loved it. I stuck with it. It's been pretty good to me. And I think the greatest gift is just having students like you come back, know, elegant, learned, contributing positively to society. It's a blessing. There's so much pride here.
Well,
Yes.
I am blessed to have
Yes.
been taught by you, Miss. Thank you so very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for joining me on this interview with Ms. Robinson. I hope you came away with some takeaways on how you can really spark the inventor's mindset in your students. Sometimes the simplest things that you can do as an educator is what really makes your students feel very special and what really allows them to grow into their own and really discover who they are and who they can become. So to all the educators watching, just thank you for, taking on this selfless job, and just thank you so much. And for all the students listening, I hope you too know that you can be an inventor. Inventors are just problem solvers. And so thank you, everyone. Thanks again. If you wouldn't mind, I would love to do the long division dance. Okay. Because I know when all your students see it, wherever they are in the world, they're gonna want to get up just for good old time's sake and do it virtually with us too.
I didn't just read. Ready?
Yes.
Long division goes like this: divide, multiply, subtract, bring down. And we will do that over and over again.
Yes.
You think your niece can do it?
I think
One more?
Yes.
One more? 2, 3. Long division goes like this: divide, multiply, subtract, bring down.
For more information about Seesaw Kids, visit seesawkids.com.